All you need now is a shawl and a mock cap, and you could be Mrs. Hudson's younger sister.
That literally just gave me an achievement, which is awesome. I love the fact that that gave me an achievement. And are we going to see the... Oh, of course we are. Wouldn't be the same, would it? Wouldn't be the same. Watson. We need to talk to Watson.
Holmes, poor little Wiggins needs our help.
Yeah, you didn't really seem to like him that much earlier on, did you, Watson? Anyway, has this got, like, stuff from our cases on? I think it has. If so, that's pretty cool. Anyway, Wiggin's brother's been arrested for a crime he did not commit, which means that we are, we have to help him. Now, we got a letter as well. Sensation and exotic method of murder. The arsenal of our present-day criminals may soon be refilled with poisonous plants. A young and beautiful woman, in collaboration with her colleague at Kew Gardens, planned the terrible murder of their director, Mr. Montague Dunn. Only one detective was capable of uncovering the truth behind a tragedy that was initially believed to be a simple heart attack. That detective's name is Sherlock Holmes. Of course.
This is where I keep my post.
Okay, no more letters, I guess. Right, let's go.
A map of London and the surrounding area.
Yep, let's go. Half Moon Street. Okay, just looking forward to seeing what's going to come up. Obviously, we're going to try and prove the innocence, I guess, of Wiggin's brother, which is, I guess, the best way to do that is to find the actual murderer, which is what I presume we will be doing. Okay. Okay, interesting. Oh, we got our little lantern. Who's this Joker? Hey. Oh, no. Okay, can't go that way then, apparently.
Locked.
Okay, that's locked. What's this? Dysentery is in an office.
Locked.
Locked again. Okay. This looks a little bit dark and foreboding, doesn't it? Aha. Okay.
Please, gentlemen, leave the scene now. Oh, Mr. Holmes, is that you?
Good evening, Constable...
Constable Marrow. I was here with Inspector Aberline during the Ripper case, Mr. Holmes, back in '88. But then this is nothing like that case. With this one, we've got the murderer, the weapon, and the statements, which speak for themselves.
Of course, Mara. But you know that appearances can sometimes be deceiving. You spoke of statements. You have witnesses?
Well, I was there, so I gave my own statement. And then there were two other witnesses who said they saw the killer Chapman. Mr. Turner, a gentleman who lives in that flat over there. And Polly Powell, a flower seller, who was over at the far side of the street.
Who were the victims?
The two men here, both shot. The stout fellow was Brian Vacotti, a well-known ruffian. The other, Kenneth Butler, a jeweller by trade.
So, Constable Marrow, I should be delighted to hear your testimony.
I was standing at the north side of Half Moon Street. That was the side that you came from.
But you would have been unable to observe this part of the street, where we are standing now.
That is correct. But I saw the two victims slowly enter Half Moon Street, and then shortly after, the fireworks started. A few minutes after that, the fellow Chapman rushed towards me and ran into Half Moon Street.
Please continue.
I didn't pay attention, but suddenly I heard a woman's cries and police whistles on the other side of Half Moon Street. I rushed over there and I saw the two dead bodies on the ground. When I reached Whitechapel Street, I saw Leighton Chapman. He'd been caught by two police constables.
Okay.
Did you hear the shots?
I didn't hear any shots. The fireworks were all over the sky. They were so loud I couldn't hear anything else.
What were the fireworks in honor of, Constable?
Well, uh, today's Queen Victoria's birthday, Mr. Holmes.
Ah, yes, I appear to have lost track of the days. It is May now, of course. Constable Marrow, what else caught your attention while you were running through Half Moon Street?
I saw nothing but rats, and I took the time to light every corner with my lamp.
Did you happen to look up at Mr. Turner's window when you were on Half Moon Street at that time?
Yes, I saw that the window was open, but no one was there. It was dark in the room.
Interesting.
Constable, your statements have been of great value to me.
Yes. Let's examine. Oh dear.
He tried to stop the bleeding with his hand. Death was not instant. The bullet penetrated his stomach, a dreadful wound.
Yeah, that's a pretty slow death.
A tattoo from Westgate Prison.
Oh, okay.
Vicotti must have done some time there. Brian Vicotti suffered greatly. What a terrible way to die.
That is pretty bad. Okay. Wow.
The bullet
Headshot.
struck his head. This man didn't stand a chance.
Plates, stuck object, piece of wall.
A piece of wood that has stuck between the cobblestones. Let us take a closer look.
Interesting. What is it?
This shard of wood is quite new.
Okay, we'll take that. Examine his head. Oh, a key.
This is an ordinary key. I wonder what kind of door it opens.
We'll just steal that, thank you. Okay, that's Kenneth Butler. Ah, you must be the guy who looked out the window. I'm
Good
guessing.
evening, Mr. Turner.
I heard Constable Marrow reply to you as Mr. Holmes. Are you that detective gentleman? I've heard of you. And well, I know things about this evening.
Really?
Excellent. Might we hear your story?
Let's check him out first. Could we do that with Constable? I actually can't remember now. I don't think so. Oh, medal clasp, balaclava, Crimean War veteran. Missing buttons, poor life. Requires support, weak leg, limping. Okay.
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
I was already in bed when the fireworks started. A few moments after, I clearly heard 2 gunshots from outside.
Please continue.
I quickly got up and I grabbed the lamp from my nightstand and I rushed towards the window. I looked down and I saw 2 bodies. And there was a man with a gun who was standing nearby.
Where exactly?
Well, near this body.
Did he notice you?
I don't think so. He rushed towards Whitechapel Street without looking around.
Okay.
Were the 2 shots you heard consecutive?
Yes, there was a very short pause between them, and they sounded different somehow. It seemed to me that the second shot was louder than the first.
That is an interesting comment. Mr. Turner, did you see anyone else in the street?
No, I saw no one but that man, the murderer, the fellow they caught.
Mr. Turner, what were your actions after you stepped up to the window?
I was afraid that the man with a gun might return, so I stayed close to the window till I saw the policeman coming in the Half Moon from Whitechapel. Then I walked out to tell them everything I saw.
Okay,
You have helped us a great deal, Mr. Turner.
interesting. Who's this? Oh, it's
I'll do
Wiggins.
anything to save my brother, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, Mr. Holmes. Watch out for the old apple and pears, Mr. Holmes. Perhaps we can get him on the old dog and bone, eh? Okay, flower seller.
Mrs. Powell?
What do you want?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm assisting the police with their investigation of the crime that took place this evening.
Well, I've already gave my testimony, but very well.
Okay.
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
Yes. I was selling my flowers as usual, and then the fireworks began, in honour of Queen Victoria. I enjoyed those. But then, all of a sudden, a young lad ran out of Half Moon Street and stopped just by me. He had a gun in his hand. He was like a ghost, and all covered in blood. It was dark, but I could see him, because of the flashes from the fireworks.
And then?
I screamed as loud as I could. I knew that a policeman should be on duty in the vicinity. He had no time to escape. 2 constables got him. Then another constable came out from the very same street, and I heard him talking of a horrible murder.
Mrs. Powell, did you hear the gunshots?
I'm not sure. You know, what with the fireworks?
Did you see anyone else leaving Half Moon Street, prior to or at the time of the crime?
No, sir, I did not. Even with all the fireworks, I was very attentive, as I'm always on the lookout for customers.
I see.
My thanks to you, Mrs. Powell.
Okay. We've talked to the witnesses.
This mirror is turned towards Half Moon Street.
Okay, that's interesting. Should we see if we can open up any doors
Locked.
with this key? Holmes, what are you doing? Oh, no. Okay, can't go any further down there, I guess. Guessing can't go any further down here, no, okay. Polly Powell. Okay, that seems to be it.
I'm always wondering what's on your mind, Holmes.
Let's see. I just want to see if I can open any of these doors with this key, but I'd imagine
Locked.
not.
Locked.
Yeah, okay.
Locked.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's go to Scotland Yard and have a look and have a chat with the young man. Let's go. Not too sure about this so far. I think there's been some sort of like... I mean, that little bit of wood there is interesting. Not too sure what exactly happened, but...
Mr. Holmes, whatever brings you here so late at night?
I'm interested in the case of young Leighton Chapman. He was arrested earlier this evening and accused of a double murder.
I beg your pardon? That case is quite clear to the police. Or are there any new facts that we don't know about?
Who knows, Inspector?
Look, you are free to investigate, of course, Mr. Holmes. Chapman was arrested with a revolver in his possession, which you can find in the evidence room. The suspect himself is in custody.
Did you find anything else on his person?
A few personal belongings. Nothing particular, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Lestrade.
I love the way, like, Sherlock Holmes literally just has the free run of the Shape of Losers of Scotland Yard. Like, he can literally just do what he wants. I can go around here, do anything I want. I can investigate any case
This is the gun that Leighton was holding when he was caught by the police. It is a Webley revolver, a reliable weapon.
Okay.
It seems as though the shells were not removed from the cylinder.
Okay.
Two out of the 6 shells have been fired. There were 2 shots.
Interesting.
These cigarettes are filled with cheap tobacco. Nothing interesting. A cheap watch, bought with his own money, no doubt.
Okay. Okie dokie. Let's go and have a chat with young Leighton, shall we?
Please escort this suspect for interrogation.
Interrogation.
Good evening, Mr. Chapman.
Who are you? I've got nothing to say. It's all a mistake.
Calm down, Leighton. I have come here to help you. To find out if you truly are innocent, as your younger brother Wiggins has told me.
My brother? You know him? Then that means you're...
Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, blimey. All right, Mr. Holmes. I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, you better. Let's check him out first. Pretty sure we're gonna... Something about this scar, yeah. That is more than a deep scar. That is a brutal looking scar. Is that a black eye he's got? Recent beating. Resisted arrest. Hot-headed. Fancy scarf. Downtown fashion. Cushy job. Office clerk. Oh, Westgate prison tattoo. Past imprisonment. Committed a crime. Interesting. We noticed that on the on Brian as well, didn't we?
Good. Tell me your account of what happened.
I left my work and I hurried up to see the fireworks in Whitechapel. I was late, so I decided to cut through Half Moon Street. I saw the first fireworks light up in the sky. I bumped into a constable on a corner before entering Half Moon. Then suddenly, what with all the firework flare, I saw 2 men. They were both lying flat in the middle of the street. I stopped where I was. I thought about turning back to the police, but as I was thinking of that, I saw a third person. He was leaning over the body that was furthest from me. The second I saw him, he raised his head, and he stared at me. In a flash, I saw his gun, but he made a dash for it instead, and he escaped through Whitechapel Street.
Okay.
So you might still have had time to return to the constable.
I panicked. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I approached the bodies just to see if they were still alive. I saw that one had blood pumping out of his stomach. He was dying. It was horrible. Second one was already dead. He had a hole in his head. He was holding a gun in his hand though. I took it, and then I followed the third man.
Interesting. Pray, continue.
I turned a corner, and I saw the man standing in the middle of the street. He seemed to be in some sort of panic. And then, Mr. Holmes, something strange happened. I told the police and they laughed at what I said, but I swear to you, my words are true. I started running towards him. But then I was blinded by a flash. It was so bright that I hardly saw anything for a good dozen seconds. But I kept running forward. As I arrived in Whitechapel, I heard a woman screaming. And then I was caught by the police. But there wasn't a trace of that man. Of course, then they found a gun and all that blood. I couldn't see the murderer escaping and all that mess. Perhaps I was still half-blinded at that moment.
A thrilling account, my young man. Leighton, are you able to describe the person whom you saw standing in Half Moon Street?
Well, I wasn't able to see his face at all. It was too dark, and he was too far away. I could see his silhouette.
And what about that?
Nothing so special. He was wearing a jacket. He was quite average in size and his weight.
I see. Was there anything else that struck you at the time?
No. But perhaps it's strange, but I can't remember the sound of his footsteps as he was running away. Perhaps it was because of the fireworks or the surprise of me seeing him.
Leighton, I confess I am puzzled. Why should a young lad like you take a gun from the hands of a dead man and set off in pursuit of a probable killer?
I know. I keep wondering that, but at the time it was like a reflex. A criminal ought to be arrested, and he was armed.
You were willing to risk your life. That was a little foolish, unless you wanted revenge.
No, Mr. Holmes. I was just being brave and stupid.
I'm sure that you were, but I believe that you may have recognized one of the victims, Brian
Gotcha.
Van Cotte. You knew that gentleman well, did you not?
However could you know that?
You have a typical tattoo of the Westgate Brotherhood upon your hand. I observed exactly the same mark upon Mr. Vercotte. You came to know him from your sharing a past prison sentence. Am I correct, Mr. Chapman?
Oh, God. You're right, Mr. Holmes.
Would you tell me a little
Start
about
telling me
Brian
the truth there,
Vercotte?
boy, don't you?
We were convicted for a robbery. Once in prison, both of us joined one of these fraternities. During that year, we tried to help each other out, you know?
Now, you were quite young then, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, we were. We'd only stolen a pound of meat. After we were released, and when I saw what my little brother had become, I decided to work towards living an honest life.
And Vercotte?
He had a hard time. His sister had died in a Whitechapel dispensary while he was in prison. He had no family anymore. Our paths split. He fell back into crime.
So you lost him?
Yes. And for around 2 years, I heard no news of him at all.
What a coincidence.
We shall see you soon, young man.
What a coincidence. Leighton Chapman. Okay. Let's get some stuff going. So, two victims. Okay. 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 Got that one. Okie dokie, what have we got here then? So, simultaneous shot. Turner could hear the contrast between two fired shots as in fact 3 shots were made. At first, a single shot was fired, then 2 gunshots simultaneously directly afterward. That could be interesting. Imaginary man, the person who drives is a figment of his own imaginary grin to vindicate himself. Okay. Kenneth and Brian Vercotte were the victims of double murder carried out by one person. Okay. The violent crime committed in Half Moon Street, Planet Chapman could have had a personal motive. Mr. Turner stated that he remained at the window of the flat until the police arrived. However, this is in conflict with Marrow's statement as the constable did not see anyone at the window. Yes, that's an interesting one, isn't it? That is an interesting one. With testimonies of the crime
Mr. Holmes.
Let's go. Let's get back to Half Moon Street. I think we got some chatting to do. Go and chat with Mr. Turner about why he wasn't at that window, as he said he was. It's quite interesting so far, though. I don't really have any ideas so far of what went on, but I'm confident Holmes will get to the bottom of it. Oh, what's this?
What's up with you, lad? What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for my brother to be released.
Your brother?
The one that you caught, beat up and imprisoned.
Ah, the murderer.
He ain't killed no one, copper.
Watch your mouth, lad, else you'll be joining that worthless brother of yours.
Interesting. I wanna just... Oh, what does F mean? Oh. Okay.
I am unable to see any higher. I need to find something to lift my lamp.
Alright, okay. How about that? No. That's a bat. Nope, nothing there. Anything from you? No. Can I take one of these? I need a lamp lifting device. Can't find anything yet. No, nothing there. Oh, 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 oh. It was there all along. It was there all along.
This
I knew
should
that.
be useful.
Okay. Okay. Oh, nice. Oh, there it is.
This is most definitely a bullet hole. The brick cracks are fresh.
Okay.
Watson, there was a third shot fired in this street.
Reenact crossfire half moon complete. Okay. Third shot. 2 victims. Okay. Okay, that one. Okay, so I'm gonna go for the... Oh. Okay, what we got here? Lane Chapman's statement regarding the jacketed man who just been at Half Moon Street now seems reasonable, as the 3 shots of the crime prove the presence of a second gun that is now missing.
Mr. Turner, you have stated that you remained close by your window after the crime, is that correct?
Oh, yes, Mr. Holmes. I stayed at my window until the policeman arrived to examine the dead bodies.
That is very interesting, Mr. Turner. Constable Marrow stated that he did not see anyone at the window when he was running through Half Moon Street.
Well, I think Constable Marrow and me, we might have been distracted by the whistles and shouts coming from Whitechapel. We could have missed each other somehow. You understand what I mean? It was a bit of a stressful moment, to tell you the truth, sir.
Allow me to form my own theories, Mr. Turner. Would you mind showing me the view that you had from your window?
Not at all, Mr. Holmes. Please, follow me.
Okay, he's got a big limp. That's
Mr. Turner appears to live very modestly.
Yes, he does. Let's just have a little poke around. Oh,
A perfect match.
Interesting.
So, Mr. Turner broke his stick when it became stuck between the cobblestones. He did not mention that he was so near to the victims.
Oh. How very
The
interesting.
books on this shelf are in a mess. It looks as though Mr. Turner was trying to find something in a hurry here, a short while ago.
I see. What was he trying to find?
Mr. Turner was roused from his bed by the sound of gunshots.
Okay. Anything around here? Oh.
This kitchen knife is quite sharp.
Kitchen table. Sweepings. Shredded paper.
There are pieces of shredded paper scattered over the table. This kitchen knife was used to cut the paper.
Interesting. What paper, though?
So, that's the view Mr. Turner had when he opened the window. The dead body of Kenneth Butler. Brian Vercotti's contorted corpse. Mr. Turner had a perfect view of the crime scene. He saw the bodies clearly, and Leighton Chapman standing over them.
Interesting. Okay. Let's have a chat with him, shall we?
Anything else you would like to know, Mr. Holmes? Anything else you would like to know,
Can't have a
Mr.
chat with
Holmes?
This fire is dying out. It was last tended to over an hour ago.
Fire. Ashes. Burnt paper.
The
Page.
papers are almost entirely burned. I am unable to see what's written here. These words are illegible. The papers were thrown into the fire just a short while ago.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I guess got up from his bed. Open the window. Place the broken stick. Cut knife with the paper. Threw something onto the fire. Is that what he did? Oh, I think there's another sequence outside, perhaps.
So Mr. Turner used a book to hide an object that he found on Kenneth Butler's body. The question is, what did he find?
Books. Footprints.
I can see prints from greasy fingers upon the cover of this book. Let us take a closer look.
Oh,
Well now,
look at that.
what a find! A precious jewel, concealed inside a book.
Well, well, well.
A bracelet with a unique ram's head design, a distinctive feature of ancient Grecian artifacts, probably of the Hellenistic era.
Okay. Well, well, well. So, let's have a chat with Mr. Turner, shall we?
Mr. Turner, how would it be possible for a man of advanced years, such as yourself, to rush from his bed to the window in a matter of seconds, as you have stated?
Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes.
You have a limp.
I highly doubt that, Mr. Turner. I observe that you suffer a severe limp due to your injured right leg. It would have taken at least 10 seconds for you to approach the window. That means you could have easily missed something, or someone, in Half Moon Street during that time.
You're right, Mr. Holmes. I could have missed something. But it did seem to me that everything happened so quickly. Oh, time can pull tricks on you.
Yeah, funny that.
And what of everything else that you told us? Mr. Turner, it is vital that we have your complete and true statement.
Mr. Holmes, I do assure you that the other things I said were most sincere.
Mr. Turner, you were not sincere with me. Not then, and not now.
But Mr. Holmes...
This, Mr. Turner, does not look like anything that a poor man might possess. It is worth more than the home that you live in.
I can explain.
No, merely correct me if I am wrong. You saw Leighton Chapman through the window, but you also noticed a glittering object on the ground, this precious jewel. You walked down and took the bracelet from the body of Kenneth Butler, and when you heard the whistles, you hurried away. That broke your walking stick. It caught fast between the cobbles. Constable Marrow was unable to see you in the window as you were climbing up the stairs on your way back to your flat. Upon returning home, you hid the precious jewel inside a book.
Mr. Holmes, please don't send me to prison. I didn't do anything bad. I'm just a poor man. When I chanced upon the bracelet, I saw it as an opportunity to make a little money. I was desperate. I only took the bracelet, that's all, I swear.
You made a mistake by lying to me. But you are not a criminal. I believe that. Although I must return this bracelet to its rightful owner.
Interesting. Okay, let's leave Mr. Turner alone, I guess. Let's perhaps have a chat with Constable Marrow. See if he's got anything new.
Constable Marrow, I would value your assistance in this investigation.
It would be my pleasure, Mr. Holmes.
I would like to make sure that there are no places in Half Moon Street where a man could hide while you were running through it with your lamp.
All right, Mr. Holmes, what should I do?
Take your lamp and start walking, just as you did before, and try to find me.
Understood.
We're playing as Constable Marrow, are we?
I can see you very well, Mr. Holmes.
All right, Constable. Let's try again. I'll find another place to hide.
Okay. This is awesome. Playing hide and seek with Sherlock Holmes.
Here you are, Mr. Holmes.
All right, Constable. Let's try again. I'll find another place to hide.
Okay. Not up here anymore. Nope. Okay. Where are you, Sherlock Holmes? Where is he? I don't think I can find him.
No, this is not how I walked at the time of the crime. I was more attentive. Let's start over again.
Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm going to call this episode Holmes and Seek. Okay. The bloody hell is he? I thought that was him then. Okay. Oh, there
Mr.
he is.
Holmes, it wasn't difficult to find you at all.
It was quite
It is obvious now. No one could escape Constable Marrow's lamp while hiding in the street.
okay. Okay. I mean that's okay. We can assume that there was one more person in Half Moon Street at the time of the crime. There's no way forward or back for escape, only up. Let us reenact the action, recreate the fire described by Leighton and attempt to climb the wall. Okay, find the flare gun and climbing equipment. Okay. The flare gun and climbing equipment. Okay, whereabouts are we supposed to find that? I was wondering if maybe we had it on our. Oh no, we didn't.
Locked. Locked.
Okay. I must be back at Baker Street, right? Yeah. We can also look at the ancient bracelet back there, so let's go there. I assume we have to check for it in the archives. It's probably the most likely area for it. Okay. Yeah, search the bracelet.
That is not the one I need.
Oh, I thought oh, okay.
That is not the one I need.
For some reason I thought there's a bracelet. I think I must be tired. Okay, nothing in there. Aha! These beautiful antique jewels represent a part of the Hellenistic treasure collection. Depicted are the 5 heads of mountain rams upon a bracelet, necklace and ring, each made of pure gold. Okay.
Here it is.
Interesting.
I need to continue my research in my archives.
Okay, well, we're here in your archives. Search the archives. Okay. I think that's that, there. The Hellenistic treasures were stolen yesterday evening while being transported by cabin away from the British Museum to the Glasford Fine Art Exhibition. Pawn shop owner Kenneth Butler contacted Scotland Yard that night and provided information regarding a gentleman who attempted to sell him a collection of historical art at his pawn shop in Church Street. The police described the capture of the man, a professional thief by the name of Vincent Foley, who had been in the process of escaping London via the port. He was recognised by the surviving driver of the cab that transported the collection of Hellenistic treasures. Vincent Foley refused to confess as to where the remains of the treasures were hidden. He was eventually imprisoned. All treasures lost are still
Here
to be
it is.
found. Vincent Foley,
One of the victims, Kenneth Butler, was involved in the story of the stolen Hellenistic treasures. A visit to his pawn shop should tell me more.
Okay. Not that type of pawn shop. Have we got any flare gun or climbing equipment? Do you have any? No. Okay, that's not where it is. Okay. Do we have any climbing equipment here? Watson.
My analysis table. It is useful for my work.
Look at him with his dagger there. Okay, I don't know where this climbing equipment is. It's probably not here now. Let's go to this pawn shop. No, not that type of pawn shop. Okay. Let's have a look. Who's this guy? What are you up to? Oh, that's what the key must be for, by the way. Yes, it must be. Here we go. Ballard's, but oh no, that's a pub. You out there, buddy? Butler's pawn shop.
Mr. Butler's key matches the lock perfectly.
But that makes sense, doesn't it, really?
These tools are exactly what I need to climb the wall.
Nice. Could we find a flare gun as well? There's a flare gun there, I can see already.
This is exactly what we need in order to imitate the flash of the fireworks.
Awesome. Aha.
ram's heads. This necklace belongs to the 5 Rams of Mittelin collection. Interesting. That means that Kenneth Butler owned a part of this collection all this time, 10 years after the theft.
Hello, Kenneth. I remember you once told me about 3 pieces of gold jewellery with a ram's head from ancient Greece. You still got them, right? Well, good news. I found a man loaded with money who's crazy about these jewels. He's ready to fork out a small fortune. I can arrange a meeting with this money bag for you. But I want you to cut me in on the deal. I'll be waiting for you at the crossing of Great Alley and Half Moon Street on Sunday evening before the fireworks. Okay, well that explains why those 2 were there.
It looks as though Mr. Butler kept a careful record of his operations.
Oh, really? Okay, anything over here? Got here. Oh, there we go. Search for missing yellows, which could be the motive for the crime that was committed. Yes, I agree. Oh no. Okay, that points towards a robbery. We need to go do some climbing though. But what I think I will do is actually finish this episode up there, because we let's go on this bit busier pub. Yeah, I think we'll finish up. You're right there, buddy. He's had a long night. Anyway, yeah, we'll finish up there for now. So thanks for watching as always. Then next time, I guess we'll have a look, try and imitate this interesting thing that's going on. But till then, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon.